Hello, everyone. We're here today with John Blankenship, our Virginia Cooperative Extension Agent.
I'm not only speaking for the goat industry, I'm talking about agriculture in general. That is really what's killing us in our industry is the fact that our expenses are increasing from inflation, almost exponentially. I mean, they're just going up, up, and up. It doesn't matter if you're talking about equipment. It doesn't matter if you're talking about fencing. It doesn't matter if you're talking about your fertilizers and the things that you need to do to grow the forages that these animals are going to eat. All of these things have gone up exponentially. Our prices that we're getting for them are lagging way behind, and we have got to figure out how to match that with our product and what we're selling, and be able to match it to that. And it's factors just like these international groups coming into our markets is what's driving that. That is one of the things here in the United States. We have more expenses to producing our goats than the others do. Just like they said, they were rounding up, or I think the term used was mustering those goats that are just nuisance goats. They're feral goats. They're in people's way. They're rounding them up and sending them out, and they figured out a way to make money doing that. Our farmers, I assure you, are doing a lot more and going to a lot more extent and steps of managing these animals and producing them, and they're having to do it with high expenses. So that was one. Another thing is it's very important that we reach out to our legislators. They're going to be the only ones that's going to be able to change a lot of these factors for us as far as markets and things are concerned, as far as international trade is concerned. We can do all we want to here in Tazewell County to try to produce the very best goat or the very best animal that could be out there for the meat industry. But if we don't have those trade agreements and things in place, we're still going to get a substandard price for our product. And that's one of the things that I think has put us in this position. So that's one of the things that we do need to do is talk to our legislators or our lawmakers or anyone out there that is involved with these things. I know there's a lot of changes going on right now, and I don't want to get into politics at all, but there's a lot of changes going on right now with tariffs and taxes and different things that's being put on other countries that's providing things here in the United States. So it may be an opportunity for us to be able to be heard and show people how these things do affect our industries as well as any others. I have had more experience with sheep in Tazewell County. Once upon a time, Tazewell County was the leading sheep producer in Virginia. Now I think we're number 8 or something on the list, but one of the big factors that moved in was predators here that changed a lot of that for a lot of producers, and it made it a situation where it was unable to compete with some of the other areas that don't have those influences. Another thing, and I think this is across the board, but our parasite load is heavy, and there's a lot of issues with parasite control. Getting the products to be able to control parasites is difficult.
Expensive.
Because, yes, one, it is very expensive, but two, there's things that we know that work very well around the world that's not legal to be used in the United States, and some of those things can really change the difference in, the amount of weight these animals put on, or whether they even survive or not. So there are a lot of factors involved. It amazes me. We shear sheep here in Tazewell County with the wool sheep, and we can't hardly give away that product, that wool. I remember younger, when I was, before I was an extension agent, the wool would bring $3 to $4 a pound. Now we can't get 50 cents a pound for it, and that means we have to have it baled and prepared to go straight to the export markets before we do that. So it's really it's amazing how low some of the margins are in some of these ag products, whether you're talking about sheep or goats or whatever. We just need to all work together to be able to increase these things, make people aware that Tazewell County being number 1 in the industry, down to in Virginia, down to number 8 now. I mean, you know, we see things falling, and
What was
the
the,
amount of
excuse
increase.
me, what was the years of those declines? When did we go from number
I think it's
one?
just been gradually all along. About early 2000s or late 90s is when it really started dropping off.
Right. Do you think that that's similar to what we were talking about Australia kind of working under the radar because they knew that the beef industry has the Cattlemen's Association watching with a very watchful eye, and the sheep and goats really does not have that association watching as close, and they're just kind of working under the radar to slowly put us out of business.
It is definitely a factor, that's for sure. There's no question. I think in some ways, since that time, our markets for, or our needs for some of these markets that are the cultural markets and things that are really looking for the sheep and goats have increased in a lot of ways due to the population. But I think it is important that we try to protect what we have, and in the markets that we have. And I'm sure there's a lot of influence of these other things coming in that's affected the sheep industry as well as the goat industry.
Well, you know, they like to say, oh, America doesn't produce enough goat meat. America can't meet the demand. That's why these foreign countries are being let in. And my opinion is that's just a saying to get American farmers to where they just can't, hit the cost. They can't make the money.
Yeah, that's exactly right. America can definitely meet any demands out there for growing goats because we do have the richest soils and the things that produce the best forages that are around. We can definitely hit the demand. The reason we don't hit the demand is because the margins are so lean in our ag industries. Our younger generations are saying, I've got to go out and find another job to be able to support my farming. If you have to have another job, and that's one of the reasons I'm an extension agent, is because I would love to just be on the farm full time. But I realize that the margins there are so lean that there's just no way I could have the lifestyle that I expect for me and for my family without working for the government as an extension agent. And many other people have livestock that are coal miners here in our area or that are doing other things that have to support that industry. I've always said I wish the industry could support itself with the margins that we can make in it, and these prices should be in line with some of the inflation that we're seeing with a lot of our other expenses and things we see. Oftentimes I have people that come to me and they're upset about government subsidies. And, we get dependent on things like that. I would prefer that we didn't have any government subsidies, that the margins on our products that we're producing were high enough to be able to afford to do the things we need to do and cover those subsidies on our own, not to be dependent on the government to help us with that. But the only way we can do that is have these trade agreements and things set up as such to where we're getting a more inflated price on the products that we're producing. Folks, this is not entertainment. This is not some of the things that are wants that folks have. These are needs. This is our food source. It's the main thing that we produce. It's the main thing that people need. I mean, it's life essential. But our country has gotten turned around to where if you're a country music star or a professional athlete or something, you're making millions and millions. But if you're providing food, something that every one of us need every day, the margin is so lean in that you're not able to survive as a farmer. A lot of our farmers have gone out of business for that very reason. And it shouldn't be that way. And the reason it is that way is because there's so many other factors at play. Other countries that are selling food to our country that's much, much cheaper than what we can afford to produce it ourselves. And these things are really hurting all of our ag industries.
Absolutely. I have a question for you on this one too. As far as the nutritional value that these frozen meats, do you feel like that they lose some of their nutritional value by the time they get here? And also, how do we know that the foreign countries is giving us a product that if it was produced here in the United States, the hoops we have to jump through to get USDA inspected?
Yes. There's a lot of unknowns there, and I honestly don't know the answers to all of those things. But we can speculate and say that if they're just rounding up feral goats and sending them in, these goats are not taken care of the way ours are. They're not vaccinated. They're not cared for the way we care for the goats here. And so I think it would have to be a substandard product in that relation. Also, the cutability of these things, the amount of flavor and things that these meats are going to have, there has to be a difference in that, depending on the way that they're produced and the way that they're managed. We have so many restrictions on what we can use in the United States, and I'm not saying that all those restrictions are bad, but it's interesting that you're on a level playing field with a country that may be using something that could potentially be harmful, that's given them an advantage. But here we have those restrictions that are keeping us from doing that. So I would like to see any meat that comes into the United States go through the same restrictions that we have to go through, because these restrictions are not all bad. They're here to protect us. And we don't want to be putting something into our bodies that could cause us to have cancer or all these other things. So it's not a bad thing to have some of these restrictions, but it is a bad thing when we're trying to produce and compete on a level playing field as some of the places that don't have to follow by these same guidelines and rules.
Well, we thank you, John, for your time today, and hopefully, we can get something done to help American goat and sheep farmers.
Certainly, and I wish you the best with this. I think this is what it takes. It takes farmers that are willing to step out there and say, we've got to look bigger than just what's happening on our farm to make it. Everybody's got to link together to be strong enough to make some of these changes, because, folks, these changes aren't easy, or they would have been made many, many years ago.
That's right. That's right. Thank you again, John.
You're welcome. Thank you.